Can your diet really reverse type 2 diabetes? It's a question that millions of people are asking, and the answer might actually surprise you. While diabetes is often seen as a lifelong condition, emerging research shows that foods you eat can make all the difference, and that's what we are about to talk to you about. Yes.
Yeah, so that's right. What you put on your plate every day has the potential to stabilize your blood sugar, improve insulin sensitivity, and even put type 2 diabetes into remission. But there is a lot of misinformation out there, and we are here to give you the facts.
We are here to give you the facts. Come on, man. That's why we are here. So put your seatbelts on, because today on the Life and Health Show, we will cover the truth about reversing diabetes, especially with diet. We will break down the science, share the foods that can help, and the ones that you need to avoid, and give you actionable steps to take control of your health. So stick with us, because this could actually be life-changing for you. So hello. All right, welcome back, and we are back for business. All right, so let's start with the basics, right? Does your diet actually affect your blood sugar levels? Every time you eat, your body breaks down food into glucose, and what happens with that is you use your glucose, in a form of energy. It's the main source of energy for the body. So that's the whole reason of eating, right? You eat and it's broken down to glucose, and you use the energy from glucose. But if you eat too much, or you eat too many refined carbohydrates, including sugary foods, your blood sugar spikes, forcing your pancreas to work overtime. And that is a way to produce insulin, is work overtime to produce insulin.
And over time, this constant demand of insulin can lead to insulin resistance, which is the hallmark of type 2 diabetes, right? So when your cells stop responding to insulin, glucose builds up in your bloodstream, leading to high blood sugar levels. So you don't want the insulin that you produce to be insensitive. So if it stops working, then the blood sugar in your blood increases.
Definitely. So insulin response, if kind of like we talk about antibiotic resistance, right? If you take too much antibiotics, what happens is that antibiotics don't work when you really need them to work. And so if you eat too much of food that contains carbs, especially the refined carbs, and a lot more that we're going to talk about, then obviously insulin will be released to the extent that they don't work anymore. And that is what we want you to avoid going forward, right? But the good news is that choosing the right foods, though, can actually lower these blood sugar spikes. It will improve your insulin sensitivity and even reverse some of the damage that could have happened along the way. But it all starts with understanding what to eat and what to avoid. And that's exactly what we are going to be talking about next. So why don't we just go straight into what to avoid then, if you want to start?
Yes, so what foods should you avoid if you are trying to reverse blood sugar, by using diet? What foods do you have to avoid, right? So the first one, the obvious one, is to avoid added sugars.
Oh, come on, man. Added sugar. Any sugar that you add yourself, right? Okay.
So sugars like when you are eating your breakfast, you're making your coffee, you keep pouring in the sugar. So that's something you have to avoid if you want to reverse your type 2 diabetes. The tea that you make in the morning, the cocoa that you make, the porridge, these are the things that when you are about to eat, you have to add something to make it sweet, So the added sugar, the amount of sugar that you put in that food should be such that you want to avoid altogether.
Now, I thought you say it should be just avoid it altogether. We're talking about reversing diabetes. We're not talking about, just keeping it away. So we're going to be a little more tough today because we want you to completely reverse it. All right, to avoid adding sugar. Simple as that. Whatever it is, it could be oatmeal, it could even be a good food that we may suggest on the live right now. It doesn't mean that because it's good you can add sugar. No, you have to stop adding sugar completely.
Completely. So like you have to learn how to take in your coffee black, right? Take your tea just as it is. You enjoy the flavor, not the taste per se. I don't know how you can eat your cocoa without adding sugar though.
Then don't eat your cocoa or your porridge. If you cannot eat it without sugar, then maybe you shouldn't eat it. But the cool thing about this is that I have found that your tongue gets trained. Some of the things we add to our food is because naturally when we got introduced, we were adding them. If you stop adding them and you really want to eat, you will eat and you taste the real food itself. I mentioned it several times on here that, I used to always add sugar to my tea or to my coffee. But when I found out this issue and I stopped, adding those sweetness, I enjoy my tea still. I drink tea without sugar and it doesn't feel like there's nothing in there. I feel the flavor of the tea. And as a matter of fact, it tastes better for me. I don't know about, even with coffee too. Some people say that coffee flavor is actually, seen. Those real coffee drinkers, if you talk to a real coffee drinker, they will tell you that your creamer or your sugar is destroying the flavor of the coffee. So just take it from us. You can still drink it. Don't be scared. You can drink it without it added sugar or the creamer for that matter. So
yep.
You agree,
so
right?
Yeah, you avoid it altogether.
Avoid it altogether. Added sugar. For you to add sugar to something, then don't think about reversing diabetes. I mean, if you want to keep your diabetes, then that's an easy way to keep it. But if
manage it.
Or if you want to just manage it, you don't want it to go away, then you can add a little bit of sugar, as we say, right? Just a little bit.
Maybe use honey, right? People
they say,
like, just use honey.
The studies show that even the honey and the sugar, they turn up to be the same. So if you want to manage it, you can still add it. But if you want to really do better, or for some people to even reverse it, whether it's pre-diabetes or full-blown diabetes, if you really want to reverse it, then obviously you have to stop adding sugar to your meals. No matter what, you can do it. So just stop adding the sugar in the first place and you'll be fine. Trust me, you won't die and it will taste good. The first time it may not taste as good, but it definitely will taste good. So that is definitely what you want to.
Can we also say that if you were doing like 2 scoops, you can do 1 scoop or quarter scoop, then eventually graduate to no sugar at all.
You can do
so
that.
Everybody is different. So see how you react to it. You'll be surprised. Some people can just cut it off completely because this is a new year. They have a new year resolution and they want to do things differently. Maybe you were cutting down or you were minimizing the use of the sugar, all right, but you realize that your A1C is always on the higher side. So doing that same way of the things that you were doing the same way, if you're going to repeat it this year, it means that you're going to get the same results.
Same results.
It's not going to change. So you are going to be a little aggressive this time. You are cutting it off altogether. And you'll be surprised. We have studies that shows that if you cut down the sugar level, the carbohydrates, definitely the numbers will definitely change. It's no magic, right?
No
it
magic.
Happens.
It
happens.
It does happen.
So just change the way that you do things. If cutting down is not helping, cut it off all completely and see what happens after that.
All right. So next food that we want you to stop if you want to reverse your diabetes is to stop. I don't know if you started with the hidden sugars.
We did the added sugars.
We did the added sugars. So now we're talking about hidden sugars, which is sugar hiding in plain sight. Sugar hiding and tricking us to think that it's not there, and it is. I mean, it's found in soft drinks. Most of you like your soda, you like your Pepsi Coke, your Fantas, your your Tampico, your Sprite, your whatever kind of soft drink.
Ginger ale.
Or ginger ale.
Minerals.
Any drink you call soft drink, mineral, or soda, depending on where you're watching this from. If you want to reverse your diabetes, or if you want to avoid getting diabetes because maybe your mom and dad had it, or your sister has it, or some close relative has it, then obviously avoid the hidden sugars. The first one was plain old sugar that you yourself add. Now you're going to have to open your eyes and avoid those that are hiding in drinks, hiding in foods, hiding in flavored coffee, hiding in some smoothies that we call even healthy, because somebody is tricking us. That is not going to be something we want to do. So definitely avoid hidden sugars if you want to really overcome or reverse your diabetes.
Yes, so and also the hidden sugars, we say that it's hidden. So sometimes you have to pay attention and look out for it. Because it's hidden, you may not see it right away.
Yeah.
And sometimes the way that they advertise these drinks, will be very deceptive. So you have to learn and read how to read the labels on the drink. You just don't take anything because it says something catchy on the bottle, or because it looked different from what you are used to, you term it as healthy and you start drinking it.
For example, like energy drinks too.
Yeah, the energy drinks, and even the fruity drinks like the smoothie. They have it in a nice bottle, and it says healthy smoothies.
Or even juice.
Yes.
Fruit juices.
Fruit juices.
Or orange juice, apple juice. Oh, this is juices from a fruit. Yeah, but they added sugar to it.
You'll be surprised how much sugar is hidden in there.
That is
You
hidden.
read the label, and it's like 20 grams of sugar in that small, tiny bottle that you drink. You are consuming 20 grams of sugar, in addition to the things that you have to eat during the day. So in order to reverse diabetes, you have to pay attention to the hidden sugars.
Definitely. You definitely have to pay attention to hidden sugars. And if we want to go into all the things that sugars are hiding in, we won't stop. But anything that you eat that is sweet has sugar in it. Oh, come on, man. Yeah. Anything you eat that has sugar, that you taste sweetness, it has sugar. So your barbecue sauce, even today they have peanut butter with sugar added. Peanut butter for soup or for sandwich, and it's packed with sugar. So read labels, begin to read on the back of labels and see what are some of the things that are hiding in plain sight. So if you want to reverse your diabetes, or if you want to avoid diabetes, definitely avoid hidden sugars. Sugars that are hiding in plain sight in canned foods and in all sorts of foods that we are going to actually also touch base on. All right, so we can move forward. All right, so the next one is refined carbohydrates, or what we call refined carbs. So for refined carbohydrates, I just, when we're coming on, we just want to be, so serious about this, because people don't take it so serious. If you really, really want to avoid diabetes, you should potentially think about cutting down your carbohydrates to so much lower levels that it may be close to zero. But especially if you can't do that, we're going to talk about some of the things that you can still eat, as a diabetic, in terms of what carbohydrates you can. But if you cannot avoid it all, then refined carbs. So somebody will say, what are some of the refined carbs? What is the refined carbs? Help me out here.
Yes, so the refined carbs include white flour, anything white that is processed to a flour state. It's refined. It's been processed. It's been changed from its natural state to a different form. So it means that it has been touched by human touches, right? We've changed it.
It's been touched.
From its form, from its natural state to another form. So white flour, we have the white rice. The white rice, the natural state has the husk and it's brown, right? But because we want it perfumed, like you said, perfumed rice. So the white rice is a refined carbohydrate. So that's one thing you want to avoid. And the powdered potatoes, that we eat to make fufu out of it. That has been refined. The potato is there, but we have processed it for it to be in the powder form. So that's a refined carbohydrate. That's something you want to avoid. And also white bread.
White bread.
White bread is being refined. The tea bread, the one that is hot and it tastes so good. Like in the morning, it's very readily available. You can reach out for it. That's white processed carbohydrates. And also the pastries. The pastries also has a refined, and it's in that state that can spike your blood sugar.
Because it's been broken down to a milled form of powder that then they add all the butter and the sugars and everything to make whatever it is, whether it is a cake or whatever it is you make from the pastry or pie or chips, the fried chips and all those things. They have been made from a refined carbohydrate. Apart from the oils they fry them in or the butter they add, even the flour itself is refined. Did you mention about potato flour too? Yeah, some people make fufu from potatoes or swallow from milled corn, whatever it is that you make. If it is processed that way, you have broken down the complex carb into units that can easily be absorbed into your blood so that your blood sugar goes right up, spikes up as soon as you eat it, because instead of eating it in the natural form for your body to slowly take and perhaps not be able to take it all into your blood, now you have helped your stomach because you use the machine to beat it down into a powder form. So now it's completely coming to your blood. And if you want to reverse diabetes, you have to avoid it. I know somebody has a question. We have some comments from Serenity. We are seeing your question, and we're going to come back to that, my Serenity. We're going to answer your question as you move forward. But definitely avoid refined carbohydrates, as we have mentioned. You also mentioned the cereals, right? Cereals. Sugary cereals. Yeah. Cereals are some of the dangerous things that shoot up your blood sugar because they pack it up with sweet goodness, which is what? Sugar. Come on, man. So that it would taste good in your mouth, Some people say that better is Cheerios, it is this, it is...
You have the cornflakes.
Yeah, they have the heart,
Cheerios.
American Heart Association thing on it that is good for your heart. Dear friend, it's danger. It's hidden sugar in there. If you want to avoid diabetes or reverse your diabetes, avoid all those sugary cereals. Unless the cereal box says there's no sugar added, then perhaps it may be safer for you. But even that, look at the sodium. Because remember, we also mentioned stuff about hypertension, right? Look also at the sodium content and see how much sodium is in there. So processed foods, it comes back to it. It's a processed food. Once, like Gifty says, somebody touches it, they have changed it from what God actually intended it to be to something that will make your body take it too fast into your blood and add some poisons to it to make it sweet so that they can also make more money, make you sell more and then buy more and they can make more profit off of it. So those are all stuff that are going to be eventually hurting you in terms of increasing your blood sugar level. So now with that, let's move on to processed foods, since I mentioned processed.
Yeah, so with the sugary cereals, another funny thing is like sometimes you see the box, they have the cereal all right, and just a little bit of maybe strawberries in there. If you open it and you start eating, you can hardly find any strawberries in there.
And then you'll be tricked to saying that
it's healthy.
In there. Yeah.
It's healthy, but it's all sugar. You read the box on the cereal box, you can see that the amount of sugar that has been added is unbelievable. So that's the thing that you also have to avoid if you want to reverse diabetes.
Definitely. If you want to reverse it, then you have to watch everything that is on the box. So now let's move on to the processed foods. Since we mentioned some of the processed foods, right? Processed foods like cookies, chips, again, even milk, fresh milk, it's processed. And in particular, one milk, the reason why I added this one is a milk called condensed milk. It's so sweet. When I was a kid, I used to love it. But come on, man, I'm older now.
It's a lot of sugar in there.
A lot of sugar. It's flavorful. It's
Condensed
very,
milk.
very flavorful, very nice. If there's texture. Those of you who know condensed milk, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know, don't go looking for it because it's temptation for you right there. So anything that has been processed is going to shoot up your blood sugar levels because, again, they have been mailed or broken down into units that are so easily absorbed into your blood, increasing your blood sugar levels, spiking it up as soon as you eat it. So if you want to reverse your sugar disease, your type 2 diabetes, if you want to avoid it, getting it in the first place, maybe you have a family history of it, then stay away from processed foods. Now somebody may say that, hey, but everything that you buy is processed. Yes, we know. But you can find things on the market that are natural. So you buy and you cook it them yourself.
Yep.
You can find the whole foods yourself. You can find your whole foods yourself. I think we're going to go into some of the things that we recommend that you eat. So we're going to mention
with the milk too, the evaporated milk. I think we use a lot of the evaporated milk.
That's
and the
also bad.
whole milk. It has a lot of sugar in there that you have to pay attention to. And also the cheese. The cheeses that we have is processed milk, right? So it's something
Processed,
that you want to avoid. The bacon,
It's processed meat.
processed meats.
They
People
add sugars,
and they
it's also
add
not
what preservatives.
And preservatives
they
too.
add salt to it and all the unhealthy fats that comes with it. That is something that you want to avoid. And the sausages, sometimes you just want to show off that breakfast. My kids are eating sausage, they are eating bacon, they are eating cheese. These are the things that we try as much as possible to limit the use in the house. You don't want your kids to get into all that processed foods.
Right.
All the processed meats. It comes with additives, preservatives that is not healthy. Some kids even start reacting to the preservatives that they add to such foods.
Right.
Sometimes they eat food and they start breaking up. You are wondering what that is coming from. It's all because of the preservatives that is added to such foods. So those are the foods that you have to be very careful. Processed foods. You have to try and avoid such foods.
They are foods that are completely touched. It was natural before. Then somebody said, now, you know what? I got to touch this so that it will be better. So they are touching it in order to make it taste a different way so that they will get more markets. And by touching it, they destroy it. And that is what we are saying, avoid. That's what we're saying, try and avoid. Because if you don't, you are going to get yourself into trouble.
Yeah, so they treat it in such a way that it stay in the market, it stay on the shelf,
for a long time.
In order for them to make money. They don't want it to go bad. So in order for it to stay longer, they have to preserve it. That's why they have the preservatives in there. They have to add salt to it in order for it to stay on the shelf longer. Forgetting that it's making your insulin more insensitive, it's affecting your blood pressure. So those are the foods that you have to avoid. You have choices, you have options. So when you go there, these are the things that you want to stay away from. The processed foods.
The processed foods for you, my goodness. Now let's also on the processed foods. I don't know if you mentioned. I know I heard you mention the preservatives, but they also have unhealthy fats. Unhealthy fats, especially the processed meats like sausage and bacon. Hot dogs. They have unhealthy
hot dogs. Yeah.
Unhealthy fats. Sausage and bacon. They have such unhealthy fats. Fats are good, especially if you are diabetic and you don't want to eat so much carbohydrates. So we recommend that you eat healthy fats. But if your fat source is from meat, it better be a better meat. It better be a better meat. You can't have, processed sources of meat as a source of fat or protein for that matter. So definitely make sure that you do not do that. Unfortunately, I can't do a co-host on TikTok because we are live also on YouTube and elsewhere. So we'll come back to TikTok after we close the show. We'll interact there. All right, so let's go to the next one. Should we? All right. So we talked about salt in processed foods and preservatives as well as the unhealthy fats. Now, what about the foods to eat? What are some of the things to eat? Come on, man. This is where it gets interesting, right? All right, let's start. The first one I would mention is leafy greens. Leafy greens, we mention it a lot. It's because of their place in health. For every health condition, and everything that you can think of, if you become a person who eats more of leaves or green leaves, you are better off, no matter what kind of disease. But in particular with diabetes, if you stick to more of the greens, you tend to reduce your carbohydrates because they contain carbs, but very minimal compared to some of the foods that we already told you about. If you're eating a potato, the full starch is in there. But if you're eating the green, like spinach, or like kale, or even broccoli, or lettuce, or Brussels sprouts, Gifty's favorite, you're going to get a little bit of carbohydrates, but then all the rest is vitamins and fiber. And that you can beat it. So you don't spike your blood sugar up with these greens. That is why it's a staple in every healthy diet. So if you didn't like leaves, if you didn't like spinach, if you didn't like contomere, if you didn't like any of them, begin to make them your friend because they are easy, to change your health around and do a lot of things. If we can make, we probably should do a whole show on just the leaves, the benefits of these leaves. You have anything to say?
Yeah, so I think sometimes some people become so sad or upset when they go to table and all that they see is greens. They will ask, so where is the real food?
Come on, man, that's the real food, right? That should be the real food.
And they'll be like, why are we goats? Why should we eat all these greens? They get upset. They want the carbohydrates. But today we are learning that if you want to be able to control your diabetes, if you're diabetic, or even reverse the diabetes, leafy greens should be your friend. There is no way, no how that a whole day will go by for you not eating any greens at all. So you have to make sure, make sure that you have greens in the household. It's something that you introduce to the kids. Everybody should learn, because sometimes the way that we've been brought up, truthfully, sometimes you will go a whole day, a whole week with not even eating anything green. Because you are not used to, that's not how you were brought up with. We were brought up with the rice, the starches, the fufus, the bankuns, the kenkeis,
the potatoes,
with no greens
the
at all. So this is a learning process. As we age, as we grow, as we learn, as we get enlightened, we have to try and add greens. So how do we even add greens to our diet? Sometimes the spinach, my daughter started doing this spinach easy way, like a whole bowl of spinach. You sprinkle your olive oil in a pan, then you put in the spinach. You just stir it. And it becomes so soft. And a little salt sprinkle on it, and it's ready to eat. You can add it to your meal. In this cold season, you can make like a whole pot of different kinds of vegetables. It's not vegetable soup per se, but it's like something that you can put on the side of your meal to eat.
No, I disagree.
What do you mean?
That should be your main meal.
Your main meal.
Come on,
it's
man.
a side.
No. That's the main meal.
Maybe the meat will be your meal.
Yeah.
And
I
the
get
green,
that. Yeah.
the leafy green.
Maybe you have chicken as your meal.
Right.
And then, if that's what you meant, then I give it to you.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
we're not going for the starches as our main meal anymore.
Right.
If you want to reverse diabetes or avoid it at all costs.
So you can do stir fry, all the grains, you can stir it in a pan, and it's so easy to make. It's straightforward. It's not like a whole day way of preparing food. It's straightforward, it's easy, so that you can add it to your meal. And you also mentioned that contomere.
Contomeres, yes.
If any greens close by, you just have to learn how to add it to your meal.
Yes, it doesn't matter what kind of green, as long as it's a green leaf, wherever you are, watching us from. We may not mention the ones you have, but if it's a leaf and it's green, you got it. That's all it is. Like in the USA, we see a lot of the broccolis and spinach and lettuce, but you may be watching from a place where all you see is contomere, kwansusua, green peppers, or kale, or lettuce, or celery, whatever it is, that as long as it's a plant source and it's green, you're going to get the same benefits. So make sure that you're going to have these on your plate every time. Last time I think you talked to us about the portions on your plate. How much should be green? How much should be protein? How much should be carbs? But if on this show we actually are trying to hit the people who want to reverse diabetes, and so we don't even want to say starch on the side, on there. Just make sure that you have your huge portion of protein, and then your greens and a little bit of berries on the side, just for sweetness and stuff like that. That way you can basically throw out all the starches. That's exactly what we want to get to. We are scared to say it because, especially if you come from where we come from, starch itself is basically your main meal. It could be from yuca or cassava. It could be from potato for fufu. It could be from yam. It could be for every kind of white stuff. Rice in particular. Rice, come on, man. Rice. Everything is jollof rice, is oil rice, is wache, and what is the other one?
No.
Fried rice. Everything rice.
Rice balls.
Rice balls with soup. It's always carbohydrates. So this is where we're trying to steer you away from. So ditch those, throw those out and replace them with your skinless chicken. We're going to go talk about those things, but definitely cut back on those things, and you will see immediate results within weeks that your blood sugar is going to become normal again, and you can reverse diabetes.
Yes, and if you keep doing the white starches, like you're saying, you overwhelm your pancreas, right? I think we mentioned it, that it has to overwork just to keep up. With all the white starches that you are pounding in. So over a long period of time, the insulin become insensitive, and that's why you run into this problem of diabetes. So it's not your fault. It's the way, the culture, and where you've come from, or the way that you've been eating has been getting into that situation. Maybe you are pre-diabetic now, just gestational diabetes. There's so many ways that you feel like you are not on the healthy side. It's not your fault because of the way that you've been eating. So just stay with us and learn the choices that are available to you and make the right choices, and you'll be able to control or reverse diabetes for sure.
All right, and the last benefit of the greens, then we'll go to the next group, food group that we want you to do, is that they are also acting as antioxidants. Antioxidants are scavengers. They are disease chewing scavengers. They go through your body and try to eat up anything that can potentially cause disease, including even cancers, and atherosclerosis or plaque buildup in your arteries. If you are eating these greens, you are going to develop more of these antioxidants, which will basically go through your body and try to chew up any free radical or any disease-causing agent that is foreign to your body. And so it is not just for diabetes. It is also going to prevent you from getting other diseases, including heart disease, and the rest. So with that, we don't want to spend all day on the greens.
Yeah, but before, another important point is the source. Where you get your greens is also very important.
Yes.
We know that some people add other things that are not healthy, for mentioning cancer in there. You have to know the source of the greens that you're getting. If you're going to eat it raw and you're not going to cook it or wash it or treat it as much, even I think you have to treat all the greens before you eat it.
Yeah, wash
it. Some people will do the vinegar little thing in the water. You thoroughly wash it first before you eat it, or just put it on fire lightly, just to make sure that it's clean before you put it in your body. So the sauce is very important. And if you want to go for organic, if you're eating it raw, it's also, or you're going to make smoothie out of it, you have to make sure that the sauce is also good.
Yes, the organic sauces are good. And some people say, Before I used to, how should I say it? There's a way, when you don't have a lot of money, you can say that organic and the regular one, they are all the same. They are not, bro. Come on, man. They are not, bro. If you cannot afford it, don't say that they are the same. They are not the same. And especially if the science says on it, it's organic source, then know that it is different. Unless the place that you are buying it from is known to be lying. Right. But if, for instance, in the US, we have the USDA sign on it that says US approved organic, then I got to take it to the bank that it is really organic. So if you pay a little bit extra, it's okay. You are more valuable. You are expensive being right here. And sometimes the difference is not so much, but we say that, they are the same. And then we just buy anything for buying sake, So you don't have to be rich to buy organic stuff. You just have to understand the importance. And so let's understand it. It's just a little bit, and we also reward them to make it clean if we, choose those things. But that being said, if you cannot get the organic, I would still take the regular one. If you can't, whether it's because of cost or it's not available, take the regular one and use Gifty's techniques of washing and cleaning and making sure that you still do the greens. Don't say that, I didn't get organic, so I'm not going to eat, I'm just going to eat my starch. No, that's not it. All right, I think we can move forward, right? All right, so the next food group that we want you to eat or focus on is the fatty fish. Now, fatty fish, you know where you, again, watching us from. For some places, tilapia may be your fatty fish. You got an oil on the chest, that's a fatty fish. In some places, mackerel may be your choice fish. In some places, it is something else. So wherever you are, the fish that is big, fish that is fat, is fatty fish. Salmons, mackerels, tuna. I don't know if tuna is that big. There's a bunch of other fish groups that you can get and use, and those are the ones that you want to do. And my Serenity says, just subscribe. Thank you for subscribing to our channel on YouTube. For some reason, I'm unable to push your comments, but at least we will read them when we go to the break. All right, so you want to add anything?
Yeah,
to
so
the fatty fish?
high protein content from the fatty food, fish foods, salmon, mackerel that we're talking about, help keep you full and prevent overeating. So you were saying that our main meal should be the protein source, right? So instead of the main meal being the carbohydrates, now we are learning that the main meal is the fatty fish or the salmon or the mackerel. That's the main thing. So you don't want to give a little tiny bitty thing to your husband or to your wife to your kids, because that is the main meal. So that, because of the protein content of it, that will keep you full and it will prevent you from overeating as compared to the carbohydrates and the rice. You are going to overeat because you are not full. You keep eating because it gets straight into your bloodstream. Calories. It's empty calories. So in order to stay full, you have to go with the protein, and the healthy one is a fatty fish. Definitely. So healthy protein in this way is what? The fatty fish. We're going to talk more about some other sources of protein. We know that for diabetics, your source of carbohydrates should be either from your proteins or a little bit of carbohydrates. Wow. So proteins are important. Don't overdo it, because also we understand that, especially if you have had long-standing diabetes for a long time, you may have, kidneys that are already compromised, and so too much protein may also harm you. But as long as you eat just enough to be full, not like binging on proteins on that, you should be fine. And that some of the protein is converted to energy for you. So even though you may not eat your starches, you may not eat your carbs, you will still have the energy from your proteins, because your body will convert extract protein into energy. And you need protein and amino acids from your protein for building your cells and refreshing yourself. And so sources of proteins are important. That's why we're bringing you fatty fish. And yet there is more. You want to go to the next can
one?
also do seafoods.
Seafoods,
that can be a little pricey too, but we are expensive, right?
Yes.
You can afford it. So you have to do the seafoods like the shrimps, the lobsters, the crabs. That is a better choice than going for pure empty carbohydrates, empty calories. So you have to just think about how you can incorporate or how you can add seafoods to your menu. If you can afford it, yes, go for it. They are very good source of proteins that will definitely help.
Oils too,
that will help you stay full for the longest and help control your sugar levels.
Definitely. And just picture your dinner being shrimps with leaves. Maybe a couple of avocados on the side. The shrimp is sprinkled with olive oil. Oh, come on, man. That's what I'm talking about. Instead of your big ball of fufu, banku, potato, or whatever it is, rice ball, dumpling, or yuca, whatever it is. No, eat healthy, And somebody may say, but shrimps are expensive, bro. I know, because we buy it too. They are. But you can find it cheap if you begin to look for them as your source. You will find the places where they are cheaper. You will definitely find them. But because you saw it once and you say they are expensive, you neglect them. You can find them when you look for them cheaper too. And it doesn't have to be shrimps all the time. It could be lobsters, it could be crabs, it could be any other form of seafood that we don't even know. As long as it's from the ocean, it's not processed, it's just cleaned, and then you use it, you are going to take in less of your carbohydrates when you eat those, and then more of your good proteins and fats, which are going to help you to stabilize your blood sugars and prevent yourself from going into crisis if you have diabetes. All right. So let's move on to the next good food source that we want you to include.
Yeah, we have the lean meat.
Lean meat for you. Come on, man. Lean meats, right?
So the red lean meat. I think somebody was questioning whether they can eat red meats, right? So
Yes.
you can, as long as it's lean. You just don't want to go for the red with the fats all over. You go with the lean meat, and also the skinless poultry, the chicken and all that you eat. You try to skin it out, take the skin out, and eat the protein, the meaty parts of the chicken, and that will definitely help.
All right. So so that we will not miss some of the questions, let's answer some of the questions from our YouTube. Those of you watching on YouTube, bring the question here. One question says that some restaurants add sugar to their meat. Okay, that was a contribution from my Serenity. Yes, you are very right. And then her question, or his question is, can diabetics eat yam? That's a good question. Can diabetics eat yam? As a matter of fact, I think we're going to hit on that. So we will hold off of that one. But let's go to the next question. How does cornmeal affect diabetes? Okay, because of what we mentioned, cornmeal, because we talked about processing, right?
Yes.
Right. If you are going to eat the corn itself, I'm pretty sure that potentially you're not going to be able to chew it so good that your body can absorb all the carbohydrate from it, right? Because I know I like my corn, trust me. But if you put it in the meal, which you are talking about, to make a powder, you are reducing the carbohydrate from being complex to becoming a little more simple. And when they become broken down into those smaller units like powder and you eat it, now your body can pick it up quick. And when they pick it up quick, it goes in your blood quick. And so the key is to try as much as possible to let it remain the way they were found in the wild. And in Ghana, I think there was a food called sorghum or something. No, it was also like corn, but they took the husk off and you still see the pieces, right? Yeah, that would potentially be better. Or maybe, what is it? Something. I don't remember those names. But there was a way to use corn for some of these balls that you could still use that does not give you all the sugar at once. If you're going to eat a cornmeal, from where I come from, when we make cornmeal, we make it into banku, right? You have to make sure that your banku is a little bit. It's not big. You can't make 2 balls of banku and put and put your okra on it or your soup on it and eat it all. If you have maybe just a size of this, then it's fine. Something small. And then you spice up with that, with maybe a huge tilapia, big tilapia or broiled tilapia, or some kind of a rich source of protein with your olive oil on it. So you're getting the healthy fats so that the carbohydrate doesn't overpower all those other things. And then you add your greens.
So like your plate is going to be your tilapia, which is your main meal, and the banku just a little bit on the side, right?
Or the cornmeal, right?
And the cornmeal on the side.
Just a little
and
bit.
Your greens and all that as that. So you are eating the fish and the banku is the side, But you don't want to eat a whole bowl of banku.
You don't want to eat the banku and the fish on the side, or a little piece of fish on top. No, eat the fish and add a little bit of your white dumpling, banku, fufu, or whatever it is that you're trying to talk about.
Yep.
Or put that one on the side. And even that, I also dare you to eat your leaves before you start eating that meal. Because when you eat your leaves, whether it's broccoli, kale, spinach, first, and then you eat on top that white thing cannot completely, go into your blood because the leaves are going to prevent it from being absorbed completely. So that's a trick for you if you still have to eat it, But if at all possible, especially if you want to reverse diabetes, I would say stay out completely. Stay out. Unless it is not possible, then reduce it to the smallest amount possible and watch your blood sugars go down. It will go down, trust me. Studies, we are going to point to some studies. So we are not making it up. Studies prove that if you cut down on the carbohydrates and the starches, your blood sugars can go down. You will go into remission. Remember, we're talking about cure or remission here in type 2 diabetes. You're going to go into remission, and eventually you can completely do away with diabetes or protect yourself from getting it in the first place if you don't have it. All right. So now the next food group, we'll answer more of your questions. My Serenity, let us know, are you a man or woman? Because Serenity could be anybody, and I don't have a photo for you, so we can't tell your gender. But if you can let us know. You said you also like condensed milk. Come on, man. You also like condensed milk. Man, that's what's up. Condensed milk is good. Condensed milk is good. Very, very good. And those watching on TikTok, make sure you hit on the follow button also so that you get all our shows when we go live or watch those that are recorded. All right, so let's move on in the interest of time. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, so the next food item that we want you to encourage, want to encourage to include in your diet is the eggs.
Oh, we finished the lean meat, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let me add a little bit to the lean meat. For the lean meat, Gifty mentioned the red meat without the fatty streaks. I'm also going to add skinless poultry or skinless. You did that too? Chicken.
Yeah.
Chicken without the skin or whatever, turkey without the skin. Those are lean because there's no fat in there. And you can use it for several other food groups that you want to do. Yes, go ahead.
And we can do the eggs, right? Last time we had a whole show about eggs.
Yes.
And you can eat with the yolk in there. That help you stay full and it helps you control your carbohydrate intake.
Definitely. So eggs can definitely replace. Eggs are filling. If you eat 2 eggs in the morning or even 3, you potentially are going to be full more. So you won't have to need your starchy huge meals. And people think that if you have high cholesterol, you can't eat your eggs. 1 egg contains about 300 milligrams of cholesterol. 1 egg. So if you boil the egg, if you don't fry it in an oil that's going to raise your your cholesterol, and you boil it, which is pretty much very healthy, then the cholesterol from 1 egg shouldn't increase your cholesterol so much. If you have hypercholesterolemia or familial hypercholesterolemia, which is basically inherited high cholesterol levels from your family, then in that case, you may be, watching how many eggs you eat per day. But if you don't have any issues with cholesterol, eggs can be a very good source of, food for a diabetic. Very, very good. They are rich in all the essential proteins that we need to build ourselves. All right. So the next one.
We have the whole grains.
The whole grains, right?
Yeah, instead of going for the processed grains, the processed carbohydrates, you go for the whole grains. So the reason why it's good to go for the whole grains is that it has a low glycemic index, meaning that when you eat it, it doesn't get dumped into your bloodstream for it to spike your sugar level. You know, it has a low glycemic, meaning that it's released slowly into your system so that the insulin is not rushed into it and get overworked and all that. The glucose is released slowly. And example of the low glycemic index product is like quinoa, right? We have the oatmeal and we have the brown rice instead of the white rice. So the oatmeal can be a good source of breakfast for people with diabetes.
Without sugar added.
Without sugar. Or maybe you can do like almond milk, a little almond milk on top of your oatmeal. That can help sustain you because you're going to stay full for a long time in the morning. Instead of going for the sugary cereals, you can do oatmeal. And instead of using the white rice, you can use brown rice.
Definitely. So that is whole grains for you. Now, again, if you are very, 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 very interested in reversing diabetes, I would even stay away from the grains, you know, and stick to the proteins and the fats and the leaves, right? But if it's under control, or you cannot completely do away with your banku or whatever it is, starchy food that you can, then switch to the whole grains. Like replace your rice with your quinoa, right?
Or brown rice.
Or your brown rice, you know. In that case, that would be all right. Or your oatmeal. But for some people...
Or your white bread with the whole grain
with a whole grain bread, right. With your white bread, with your whole grain bread. But for some people, they can do it. Some people can say that, you know what, everything that has carbohydrate, whether it's, you know, roots or grains, I am completely ditching them because I want my sugars to return to normal within the next 3 months.
Wow.
Then they can do that, you know. That's when they actually enter into keto diets and stuff like that, which is a whole other topic. But yes, if you are really aggressive, you can even avoid these. Otherwise, you can just, you know, keep doing these, but in moderation, just to make sure that you do not lose on that. All right, so the next thing, which is going to answer the question of Serenity. Now, Serenity told us Serenity is a lady. So thank you, Serenity, for letting us know. I didn't want to address you the wrong way. And one question is, does the same diet work for lupus? And I'm going to say yes. This diet that we are talking about works for almost everything. From blood pressure to lose weight to diabetes to heart disease, cancer patients, green leafy diets. Every diet that doesn't have a lot of these things are going to help. Now, lupus is an inflammatory disease, and all these foods we are talking about, the greens and the berries and all those are anti-inflammatory. They are all going to make sure that your inflammation in your system reduces, and so it's going to help with lupus also. So you can, you know, kill two birds with one stone, helping with diabetes and helping with other diseases. So that definitely would help. And she also asked, what about fruits? We're going to talk about it right now. And so the next thing is what? Complex carbohydrates. We already told you, in fact, if you have been watching from the beginning, you know that I'm biased concerning complex carbohydrates. But that being said, we also understand that some people cannot do without them. You know, you cannot completely stop eating your yam. And so, in that case, what do you do? Gifty, I'll let you answer that question.
Yeah, so in that case, you have to do portion size.
Portion size, come on, man. Portion size.
I think you mentioned it already, you know. So if you're doing like a whole bowl of rice, a whole bowl of yam, you know, you have to cut it down. You have to cut it down to maybe 2 or 3 pieces per sitting, per meal.
Per meal.
Yeah, you don't want to overdo it because complex carbohydrates, I think, is not as bad as the simple, the refined carbohydrates because it's complex. You know, it takes its time for it to be absorbed into the bloodstream.
To be digested then absorbed.
Yeah, so it goes slow. So you are better off going for the carbohydrates in its natural state.
That's a complex.
If you want to think about complex carbohydrate, think about carbohydrates in its natural state. So that's the yam, that's the plantain, that's the sweet potatoes, that's the cassava, that's the yuca, and all that. So you have to eat it in that state. So we talked about powdered potato that we use to make fufu, right?
That's not
cassava,
complex.
That's not complex. But cassava that we use to make fufu, you don't want to process it too much. So instead of processing it, you can eat the cassava
yourself
in that state.
You don't pound it to make it fufu. Just chew it and then swallow. That's a complex. Come on, man. I'm not being... If you mash your potato, it's no longer complex. You mashed it. You broke it down. I mean, it's not completely like a glucose unit in there, but still, because it's powdered, your body will see it and like, potato is broken into this easy powder form. Oh, let me just get it. And that is quick. It will absorb it quick, But if you are eating it raw, I mean, as it is naturally, of course, then it takes time for it to be broken. So if you are blood sugar conscious and you still want to eat your starches, the complex ones are the ones for you.
Go for.
Without you mailing it, mashing it, or making it into any forms. You cook your yam, it's cut into 3 pieces or whatever it is. You chew it. Your teeth becomes the processor, not somebody mailing it and then you eating it. No, it's no longer complex when it is put into the meal or powdered into a fufu or powdered into a dumpling. No. Or into a swallow. No, come on, man. It's no longer it's no longer complex when you do it like that. But when you chew it, then you are getting the benefits of it going through your body slowly so that the blood sugar doesn't spike.
Right.
And even in that case, like Gifty said, you also have to mention the portion size. You can't say that, it's complex, it's yam, it's not powdered, so I can eat, 5, a whole bowl. No.
Bowl.
Then it becomes too much. Eventually, you're going to get it in your blood. And so portion size becomes very important when you come to the complex carbohydrates. Yeah.
So with the plantain, I think portion size, let's think of maybe eating 1 plantain at a sitting. That would be a good portion size.
Yes.
Because sometimes people cannot measure how much to eat. Because you don't want to count calories, you don't want to weigh, that's too much work to do. So if you have plantain and you're going to sit down and eat, just 1, not a huge big one, but the medium-sized plantain, 1 would be a good size.
But it also depends on how high your blood sugars are.
Right.
If you're already diabetic, I would even do half. You know how I trick it? Sometimes it's all in the head. So for the half, you go through it again. So that it's really half, but because you went through it longitudinally, it becomes a lot.
Right.
So it's not like the whole plantain you took half and it's only 1. No, slice it again into another half so that it looks more. Depending on, again, your blood pressure, your blood sugar level, and how keen you want to reverse your sugars. So it depends on that. And that would be definitely good. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, so if you are a person eating 3 plantains, now you're learning and you are not able to control your sugar, that may be the reason. Yeah, cut it down, portion size that, and slowly reduce how much you consume. If you are you can do away with it, right? Yeah.
All right, the next food group that we also want to add to reverse diabetes is your legumes, which includes your chickpeas or peas, your beans, including black beans, red beans, or whatever kind of beans that you can find hands on, lentils, and all kinds of legumes. All these are also rich sources of vitamins and fiber, and they are going to also reduce the dumping of sugar into your blood when you eat them. They are going to take their time, what we say low glycemic index, right? They're going to slowly update your blood with sugars slowly, not like boom, and then everything is in your in your blood. And so they are also good for controlling your blood sugars. They are kind of like complex carbohydrates too. And so that is another way you could go. You want to add anything?
Yeah, and that also can make you stay full for a long time.
Yes, because of the fibers.
You don't eat and go hungry quickly. You eat just a little bit and you stay with you for a long period of time, and that's the way you can control your intake of blood sugars.
You are welcome. I will pass this. Super thanks, Doc. All right. We are still going. All right. So, we are moving forward. The next one is your berries. These are what we call the nature's candy. So if you are diabetic and everything we see, you are sad because you can eat your candies, you can eat your sugar. This is your sugar right now. Your berries, come on, man.
You still don't want to overdo it, though, right?
You still don't want to overdo it, but if you are moderately eating your berries, such as the blueberries, and, careful with the strawberries, and you have your blackberries, you have your, raspberries and cranberries, those are the sweet things that you can have in your mouth that will make you still feel like you're eating real sugar, But this is actually the real good stuff that you should do. And you can add them to, when we started, we said don't add any sugars, right, to your breakfast. If you're eating an oatmeal and you can add a sugar, like we said, you want to listen to us, you can add a little bit of strawberry.
Right.
Slice strawberries in it. The sweetness of the strawberries will make you even forget about the sugar not being in your oatmeal, or blueberries, and cranberries, another good one. And those are really good stuff that will keep you healthy. Also, they also have a huge stack of antioxidants in them, which will prevent you from getting sick or even building up plaques in your arteries, so you don't get high cholesterol buildup in your arteries. You know, add anything to it?
We're good.
All right. So another question from my Serenity says, "What about sugar cane? It's unprocessed." Oh, I like that. Come on. It's unprocessed. That's a tricky question. I got you. But yes. Though it's unprocessed, what it contains is sucrose. And sucrose is only 2 units of glucose, if I'm right, if I haven't forgotten my science. So though it's unprocessed, the sugar unit in the sugar cane are still simple. I would still call it simple sugar. So when you chew the sugar cane, or when you get the sugar from the cane, though it's a plant source, it is still going to break down into glucose quickly. Which then will make your blood sugar go up. And so don't be tricked about cane sugar. It is still not good. It is it's close to glucose more than yam is close to glucose. Remember, glucose goes into your blood directly. And so your body will break down that sucrose from that sugar cane easily, because it's only 2 units of sugar, of glucose put together. And then it will chop it and then make it go straight into your blood. So essentially, you are putting sugar into your blood.
So are we talking about the sugar cane itself, or just the sugar?
So the question is, what about sugar cane?
Okay, because the sugar cane that we know, the fruit, the one that we chew.
That's what I'm saying.
That is the natural state, right?
Yeah, but the fluids, the fluid contains
so
only sucrose.
You cannot get as much as when it's processed to be. We have some sugar that the source is sugar cane. Yeah, so that one, if you're using that kind of sugar, it's already processed. So like you said, that can be broken down quickly and get absorbed into your system. So if you really have to chew the sugar cane, just a small, like not a whole stick, just something, small part of it may be okay. But if it's processed to be in the sugar form, then that is a processed foods that we want you to avoid.
But even that, I wouldn't do. If you are diabetic, I would still stay away, because, like I said, it was 2 units.
Right.
It was just going to be broken down easily, But Gifty wants you to eat your cake and have it.
Just a little bit, not so much, because it's in its natural state.
Right.
Because it's not processed. So that may be a little okay, but you still don't want to overdo it. And you don't want to, you have to portion size.
Well, I would do it because I'm not diabetic.
Right.
But for a diabetic, I wouldn't recommend you even try it.
Sugar cane.
Yeah, because it's still sugar. You see what I'm saying?
It's even sugar cane,
right? Yeah, it says sugar cane. So in that case, I wouldn't even try it. But that question is deep. It could be that maybe she's thinking you could use sugar from that to maybe add to your food, but still, as I explained, it's still sugar. It may not be glucose, it's sucrose. And sucrose to glucose is just one bond or whatever, and then it's just broken into sugar, which we don't want. So you want to stay away from it as much as possible. All right. So next thing that we need to talk about, we're almost done here. So stick with us. The next one is we finished the berries, right? We did finish the berries. So these are low in sugar as compared to other fruits. If you are diabetic and you're thinking about, can I eat fruits? Can I eat bananas? Yeah, you may not want to do those because of the sugar content in some of the fruits.
Right.
But the green apple has less sugar. You can chew your green apple. A sweet apple, you can even chew it if you are really hungry or your sugar is low. But if your sugar is already high, then you can potentially not use that. And if you really want to stick to fruits as a diabetic, the berries are your choice to go.
Yeah, the reason being that it's packed with antioxidants, like you mentioned, and that can fight inflammation, and it will improve your insulin sensitivity.
Good. So that wraps up all the things about diet recommendations, about what to eat and what not to eat. Now, the only other thing that we want to talk about is something called intermittent fasting. We want to hit you with everything that you need to use from the beginning of 2025. By the 6th month, if you're diagnosed with diabetes, within a few months, you can reverse it. Wow. And this video is enough to help you do that. If you can follow it strictly, I'm telling you, very aggressive, we can reverse your diabetes. And so the last thing about diet is what we call intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting. There's a whole series of studies on intermittent fasting, except that on this show, what we're going to say is that reduce the amount of time or the window that you eat. So, most people are awake for the better part of 12 hours.
Right.
Even if you sleep 12 hours in the night, you'll be up 12 hours. And for most people, they start eating right after they wake up. Most people. But if you want to reverse your diabetes, we're going to say that reduce the window at which you eat. So you can eat 9 hours in a day. So yes, you may be up for 12 hours, but 3 hours you don't eat, and you eat only within the 9 hours. This is not to say that pack everything and eat all. It's like, so you are eating from 12 o'clock, right? 12 o'clock daily to say 5. That's the window that you eat. You got to intentionally set a time or the window that you want to eat. Because if you don't, it won't work. You got to basically say that every day I'm going to eat from 12 or from 11 to 5. Within this window, after that time, I'm not eating. I'll only drink water. And you have to try and follow it. Now, if you do that, for some people, it can be 6 hours, depending on how you can. Some people cannot handle it, especially if you have had diabetes for a long time and, your sugar levels go down and you don't want to collapse or fall down or anything like that. Yeah. But if you're in the beginning stage where you still are able to, produce your own insulin or your own glucagon, so you can handle it, then 9 hours would be a good way to start. So 9 hours of the day, you have your breakfast and lunch and dinner, or maybe just breakfast and dinner, and then in the afternoon you have a snack or something like that. What do you think?
Yeah, so like if you are doing this intermittent fasting, people do it differently. If you want to read more about it, some people will start eating at 12. Because at night you were fasting, right? That's why you wake up in the morning and you are breaking the fast. That's what we call breakfast. Some people will wake up and the first thing that they think of is food. So if they wake up at 6, they start eating from 6 o'clock till they go back to bed at 10 p.m. So that's like a long time that you are exposed to food. But if you wake up in the morning and you say, you're not breaking my fast yet, I'm going to push it to 12 o'clock. It means that the window that you have to eat has been reduced. So all the calories in the morning has been cut off, and you are able to do maybe 2 or 3 meals a day. Some people will also pick a day in the week, that 2 days in the week I'm going to fast. That can be another form of intermittent fasting. So that day, all the calories has been lost. So at the end of the week, the total calorie consume has been reduced because you cut off a whole day or 2 days in the week. So however you want to do it, intermittent fasting has been studied and it's been proven that if you do it, you increase the insulin sensitivity and you also control your sugar levels.
Definitely. You need to do intermittent fasting. Everybody has to do it one way or the other. You cannot just eat anyhow. You got to set a time for your breakfast. You got to set a time for your dinner. At least you can say that every day my breakfast will be at 8 and my dinner will be at 5.
And that's it for the day,
that's
right?
This
Some people will say they can't sleep at night if they
when you wake up, you eat your berries or your nuts, healthy snack, and you trust me, it will fail you after you drink water on top. But for those who are really serious about reversing the already existing diabetes, you have to cut the hours. 8 to 5 is not enough. You got to start from the latest. The earliest should be like 11 or 10. But even 12 is better. And trust me, in the morning you drink water and don't think about the food. When you think about the food, you'll be hungry. Just go about your daily work. Or the kids are going to go to school, get them ready. You're going to go to work, get yourself ready. Before you know, it's already 12. And then you eat your breakfast. But if you think about it, hey, today I'm not going to eat till 12. Today I'm not going to... Then you are definitely going to struggle. So make sure that you don't think about it. Just working, within your schedules, and you are going to do fine. And I like the other one you brought up. I didn't even think about it. Like not eating for 2 days in a week or a day in a week.
Some people are spiritual. Some people say, I fast in my birthday. Like if I'm born on Sunday, I fast every Sunday.
Every Sunday I don't eat, I pray or whatever it is, right?
Yeah. So
and even if you are not a believer or you don't pray or anything, you can still fast. Just believe that you're doing it for your body too, right? So I think it's a good thing. 1 or 2 days in a week that you don't eat. Or you can fruit fast. Right. If you can fast. Those days, it's only fruits. Fruit only. No cooked yam or no cooked food in the house. It's only going to be natural fruit. You get your Granny Smith apples ready. You get your blueberries ready. You get your salads or whatever without any meat, nothing. Just fruit fast and see how you can handle it. And I'm telling you, if you consistently do it, you're definitely going to reduce your blood sugar levels. And
and some people also do a week with no sugar at all. Some people have a challenge like 2 weeks. I'm not going to eat any sugar.
I'm hoping that nobody will eat sugar after watching this. Please, wherever you're watching
you have to start from somewhere.
I understand,
you have to start from somewhere.
I'm throwing a challenge onto them.
You can start a challenge.
You can do it. If you are watching and you are stopping added sugar from today. You are not going to add sugar to anything. Wherever you are watching us from, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. Put it on the chat, in the comment. Say, from today, no added sugar. No added sugar. And trust me, you are not doing it for me. You are doing it for yourself and for your children. If you are married, if you have children. And it's going to do you a lot of good. We have talked about a lot of bad things that sugar does to us on this channel. So go back and watch them. If you, hopefully, you can, stop it. You can stop adding sugar to your meals and even begin to look for the hidden ones and avoid them too, right? All right, so now let's talk about a few of the studies and then we'll wrap up. Studies that prove our point, So low-calorie diets, very low-calorie diets, have been shown to reduce or help people with diabetes to enter into remission. A study with 8 weeks of low-calorie diet. 8 weeks, they monitored people who cut a lot of their starches, all the sugars and their starches. All they were eating was very low in calories, potentially maybe just leaves. That led to a remission in about 40% of the participants. Remission here means that the diabetes that they had began to reverse. And by the way, there's difference between remission and cure. We didn't explain.
We're going to come up with that.
What's up?
It's going to come up.
Oh, okay. All right. So, remission, 40% of the people who cut down their calories entered into remission. That's I'm talking about not taking any medication, not taking any metformin or glipizide or glyburide or whatever,
or
insulin injection or Ozempic. I'm talking about just cutting down the food, the starch and the energy that they take in. Just that alone, 40% of people reversing their diabetes. And it led to plasma blood glucose levels that were normal. They checked their blood glucose levels and they were normal. All they did was cut back on these foods that we are talking about. It also led to continued weight loss and then weight maintenance. They lost weight on top of their blood sugar going down. They also lost the weight. So cutting down all these foods we talked about is going to do you a lot of good. I'm going to talk about the other study.
Yeah, so the other study that we also found was another one with 3 months very low carbohydrate diet, followed by gradual diet normalization. So you sustain remission. Sustained remission was observed for 12 months in many participants. So this study was done very recently, 2022, and they observed that if you cut down the carbohydrates, definitely you get into remission, meaning that you are back to normal without any medication at all.
Back to normal.
Back to normal.
Back to normal. That's reverse diabetes.
In 3 months.
In 3 months.
Right.
In 3 months. And that's what I'm saying, that for the things that we have shown so far, if you didn't start in the beginning, make sure you go back and watch everything. If you can go and do everything that we said, I'll give you tops 9 months. Tops 9 months, you can reverse your diabetes. If you're going to be very serious at it. If you're not going to be serious, then you can live with it. But if you really want to reverse it, follow the things we said. And I promise you, because we are not making it up. These are studies as recent as 2022. People reversing their diabetes just because they cut back on the starches, the carbohydrates, and also the sugars. So you can really reverse type 2 diabetes. The answer is yes, you can. Yes, you can. In many cases, you can. It can lead to remission, if not completely removed. Remission means it is going back, right? But the thing is, it requires commitment, consistency, and a focus on a long-term lifestyle change. You can't do it today, and tomorrow you stop and you say that I failed. No, you got to continually do it. It requires consistency. If you say that you're going to eat for 8 hours of the day, not 12 hours, you do it for 1 week and you stop, that's not being consistent. That's not being consistent. Being consistent is looking and making sure that it is done as you promised. Being consistent is stopping those foods we told you to stop, and you stop it for good. Then it's going to happen.
So remember, remission doesn't mean cured, like you said, right? It means your blood sugar levels are in the normal range without medication. But the condition can come back if you revert to your old habits. So the power of to reverse type 2 diabetes is in your hands.
It's in your hands. The power to reverse type 2 diabetes is in your hands. It's in your hands. Wherever you're watching, the power to reverse type 2 diabetes is in your hands. It's not in my hands. It's not in your doctor's hands. In fact, it's in your hands. Definitely, it's in your hands. Don't let anybody cheat you into thinking that diabetes cannot be reversed. It can. It depends on how really you want to attack it. And it's all diet-based, trust me. We wanted to talk about one more thing, which is exercise. Because exercise also makes your blood sugar sensitive. Your insulin sensitive. So you do intermittent fasting, you do exercise, and you cut out all the carbohydrates. Trust me, you're going to reverse your diabetes. And your diet is one of the most powerful tools you have to fight type 2 diabetes. Wow. By making the right choices, you can transform your health, improve your energy, and even put diabetes into great remission. That's what we're talking about.
So if this video inspired you, give it a thumbs up and share with someone who needs to hear this. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more life-changing health tips.
Oh my goodness. And we want to thank those who already hit the follow button on TikTok, and also the follow button on YouTube, the follow button on, the subscribe button on YouTube, and the follow button on oh, come on, somebody. Oh my goodness. We want to say thank you to Serenity. You made our day. Serenity, I don't know why I can't put your comment today on the thing, on the show. But I want to say that we see that you have gifted us with $20. That's the first huge gift. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate you for what you have done. Super sticker. Thank you so very much. All right. And she also has subscribed to our YouTube channel. And if you are watching from TikTok, you can also do all those TikToky things that you do. Put a heart on us or whatever you do that makes us look good on TikTok. Hit the follow if you haven't already hit the follow. And if you're watching on Facebook, if you don't hit the follow, you don't see our feed. I'm beginning to find out some people who were following us are not seeing our videos, because if you don't put the follow, then they don't know you want to see all the videos from us all the time. So make sure that you hit the follow button on TikTok and also on Facebook. But the best place to actually see all of our content is on YouTube. And we definitely appreciate you all. We also see another person from YouTube, MK1904, say God bless you. We also appreciate you so much. Thank you for saying that. And it's a hand bank waving. Oh, thank you for waving to us, Serenity. We got to get to you. We got to have some chat. You are a helpful one in supporting us also. And then we have she had another question.
Supplements.
What about supplements? Yes, my Serenity, I can tell you that we have a video on supplements on our channel. So since you already subscribed, it's going to show up. Hopefully you hit the bell button. It's going to show up, or you can go through our videos. It's a supplement. I don't know whether it was for blood pressure or for diabetes.
Blood pressure.
Okay. If it's not for diabetes, you have given us a video idea, we're going to definitely make a video or go live on supplements for diabetes too. We're going to do that, because the blood pressure one was another great show that we had. And I think we answered the other questions that you had. And we also thank Ayupa, also super thanks, Doc. Also, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And we say, Beloved, we wish above all things that you prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching.